It's 68. That's perfect weather to get outside.
That'd be good sleeping there too.
Yeah, it's gonna be counted too. And you had somebody come with you that would keep track with you. Well, we found this little sweet spot. They said there was no requirement on what kind of fish it had to be. It was catch the most fish. We found a pool of bluegills just swimming around. And I'll tell you what, if we didn't catch 15 bluegills in about 20 minutes, I just hook and release a bunch of them, just hundreds of them, just along this one bank. And I think actually another kid ended up taking it. He was out there catching real fish, and he still ended up getting more than us. But yeah, that was a lot of fun.
It is fun when they start biting like that.
Yeah, no kidding. It's fun. Just the struggle, to get in the fish. That's the fun part.
Yep. Also fishing related, we had our trout release a few weeks ago, so those are all in. That went well. They did not catch all the trout, so there's still trout.
Thank goodness, there's still some left for the rest of us.
Yep, you bet. And the fishing was really good that first weekend and couple of days, and that's often how it goes. And it cooled off a little bit, and that kind of set the fishing back a little bit. When it got so windy and such.
And it got cold again for a couple of days.
Yeah. So the trout are still there, and there's of course plenty of bluegill or bass in both ponds, and so the fishing should be decent there. And at Deep Lakes Park, people have been starting to catch bluegill down at Deep Lakes Park again. So
awesome.
It's worth a trip.
Excellent. Yeah, get out there and enjoy that because we've got Deep Lakes Park, we've got Discovery Park. There's a lake. There's oh my gosh, there was another one right on the edge of my. What is the one just outside of town? If you're on 61 heading that way, there's two lakes, or two maybe large ponds side by side out there. Are those in Muscatine County?
They are, but I believe those are private property.
Are they private?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought I saw like a pavilion and a ramp out there. I figured that was.
Yeah, they look really nice and they're well maintained, but I believe those are private property.
No kidding, those are private. Well, shoot, I was like, man, I want to get over there and fish now. Well,
find a plat book and check and see who owns those and ask for permission. Sometimes people will allow that.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, but we've got great fishing spots here in Muscatine. There's always something, and not to mention, we're right on the river, so somebody with a boat.
Yep. When that goes down a little bit more, that'll pick up all.
So have people not been able to get out on the river then?
It's difficult to use the boat ramps. A lot of them are closed. The riverfront is closed down at the Port Louisa. I believe their boat ramps are closed. So it has been tough in that respect. There have been some boats out, people with private ramps and such.
Gotcha.
Have been getting out there. I would believe that the Coast Guard is recommending not to be out when it's well above flood stage like it is.
Because who knows what's floating through there, what's underneath you, that kind of stuff.
You can't always see the stuff. A lot of those logs will float right at or below the surface, and it can be difficult to see those in the way. And
I stopped at the Merrill yesterday. We deliver papers out there, and I stopped and I was looking out at the parking lot as it's starting to recede by the Pearl City Station there. The amount of driftwood, there's a log out there. If you're watching on YouTube. I mean, a log out there that big and as tall as I was, just a monster of a log. I'm not even doing it justice. It was a big one sitting out there, just right up there past almost up to the gate, or that fence that's along the railroad tracks. I thought, wow, that's a huge piece of wood to be just floating around out there.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing that you have to be careful of. And the city's going to have a lot of work to do getting that cleaned up, unfortunately. And I think what happened, there's always driftwood and stuff that floats in the floods, but then we had several days of those really strong winds, and they were just blowing everything right up into the shallows. And
excellent.
So
what species?
We have red oak and bur oak, we have shagbark hickory, we have bald cypress, which is kind of a different plant, but they grow well in Iowa. We have red buds, one of the shrubs that we have, or that we ordered. Hackberry trees, all trees that are native to this area. Most of them are trees that are relatively fast growing.
I was going to say, those hackberries, they shoot right up.
They do, and they do really well. They're good wildlife food. They have that really kind of strange, real knobby bark when they get a little older. They're nice trees. The bur oaks are a slower growing tree, but they're a very sturdy tree, a good tree for this area.
Excellent.
Yep.
Excellent. That's great. You know, it's always nice to. So I've mentioned before, I worked with a gentleman that does land management and works with to build up habitat so that it's better for turkey and deer and so
Sure.
like for like game animals. And I remember hackberry was one where hackberry was not one that we would actively seek out to cut down and let one of the methods was to hinge it. So cut it, let it fall, but leave part of that Cambrian layer. Is that right? Cambrian layer to so that it will grow back up. It will continue to live,
Right.
and it would grow new young shoots out of the bottom, so the deer would want to feed on that. But otherwise but we wanted to knock them down because the hackberry would take up some canopy space for some of the other little bit better trees that we were trying to promote growing in that area.
Yep, that's a pretty common practice, and it does work. I know in areas where I've worked in the past in Henry County, and we had some areas that we had a portion of a forested area logged, and that opened up some areas, and all kinds of new growth came back, and the deer and the turkey just really loved that area with those new shoots. It was food for them, which just stimulated those trees and things to grow more shoots. So
it's all part of a nice real cycle because the deer
is.
and the turkey, they spread the seed by the means with which they spread the seed, and it's great then because they can help promote that healthy plant life outside of all the mess that we still have, all the nasty invasive species and stuff that I'm sure you guys spend a lot of time fighting.
We struggle with that too. So.
Those are the words like the autumn olive and not hackberry, the bush honeysuckle and stuff like that.
The honeysuckle, even though poison ivy isn't necessarily it's invasive, but it's a native species. But boy, it seems to grow in a lot of areas, and it's tough to control.
I am horribly allergic to that stuff. I mean, I get downwind of it and I'm just covered. I hate it. You'd think it's the kind of thing you wish you'd build up an immunity to it. You get it 100 times in your life. You'd think maybe your body'd say, "Hey, maybe I should not be so reactive to that." Nope, it's just the other way around. It seems like it gets worse every single time I get it.
And that's sometimes people will tell us, I'm not allergic to it, and a lot of people are not. But every time you expose yourself to it, your body notices that and it pays attention. And for many people, later in life, it's like that's it. Your body says, forget it. We're not going to put up with that. And I went years and years and never had any reaction to it. And I have reactions to it now. I get the rashes, not real severe, but I'm much more careful now than I used to be.
Yeah, mine is just, it's so bad for me that I can't. When I go out and when I'm working outside, I have to watch to see if I'm going to touch any poison ivy. If I do, I have to take all of my stuff. I have to wash it with some special soap and then take a long shower with cool water. Cool water, and it's all about the friction with like a rag or something. That's how you get those oils off your skin. And it's man, I hate dealing with that stuff. But I mean, if I don't go through that whole process, if I touch my hands, if I accidentally touch my face or something like that, it'll just spread like fire. So
all over.
Yeah, poison ivy, not fun. I'm going to quit talking about it because it makes me mad. I hate that stuff. It's the worst. There's other stuff coming up. What else is happening?
I want to mention something about frogs.
Oh yeah, that's right. Excellent.
Partly because this is the time of year when frogs they're coming out of hibernation. Most of them are, and they're into the breeding season. So during the breeding season, the males are singing. So if you hear frogs somewhere, it's males that are singing, and they're looking for a girlfriend. So that's in the frog world. That's how that is worked out. The males all sing, and I guess it's kind of like the frog version of The Voice. And then the girls are the judges, and they're picking out. Okay, that guy has a good voice there. And so when scientists want to find out something about the population of frogs, they can be difficult to find sometimes, but you can listen to them, and they can be pretty easily identified just by their voice. And so we've had some staff people, our office manager and I, and then a friend of hers, that since 1990 we've been going out every year to do frog surveys. And we have 5 different areas around the county that we visit. We spend about 10 minutes at each spot just listening, and in our mind now we've done it enough. We just tick off, there's that species, there's that species, there's that species calling. But at the same time, when we listen to them, we listen to, it's called the relative abundance. Are we just hearing one frog, one bullfrog croaking over here, or are there so many we can't count? We have no idea how many. It's called a full chorus of them. And so that would be a number one or a number three. And number three would be if it's a full chorus. And if it's somewhere in between, or if there's just a couple frogs calling, we might call that a number two. So it's kind of a rough counting of them. But we calculate that, or we put those numbers down. We send them into the DNR. And over time, even with that simple 1, 2, 3 way to designate how many there are, they can see over time from these same areas what's happening to the frog populations.
Okay. Gotcha.
So after last night, we went out last night because it was a beautiful night.
I bet it was
And
awesome.
it was. The outdoors was alive. And after dark, there's a lot of other things we found out going on too. But the frog population seems to be pretty healthy in the county here.
Great.
And actually, Muscatine County and actually all the counties south of here are part of an area that the DNR has designated as a special amphibian conservation area. And
Okay.
so it has a special designation. There are more reptiles and amphibians found in this part of the state than anywhere else. And actually, Muscatine
kidding.
County has more species that have been identified here than any other county in the state.
That's interesting.
Some of them are endangered species. Some are just as common as can be. So, yeah, we went out last night. And listen, would you like to hear some of the
I
a
would
couple of the
absolutely
calls?
love to hear some
So
of the calls.
I wish I had.
Are you guys trying to provoke them to start up like a full chorus or something like that?
No, they're going on their own.
Okay.
We just stop and listen. And sometimes it's hard to tell exactly what's calling. One of our stops, it was literally was deafening. And so it was really a challenge to pick out just what was calling. We had at least 5 different species calling, but they were just drowning each other out. These are some of the common ones, and the ones we heard last night. And these are all early season ones. So this first one, I'll try not to get too close to the microphone. This would be a spring peeper. And they do that over and over and over. It sounds really pretty. If you have them near your house and a bunch are doing this, it really gets aggravating after a while.
Yeah,
Or it can.
I grew up living just above a pond. I know all the sounds of those. It's really nice when you're first falling asleep, and then you're just laying there, and wow, that.
They just
It gets sometimes. Some nights it's like I'm gonna close the window.
they just don't seem to stop.
Yeah.
So another very common one this time of year is called the chorus frog. And that was just a very short version. They go on and on and on.
That's
and
what I'm most used to hearing.
Yeah,
right there.
and this time of year, that's often the first one we hear. I was hearing those back in the middle of March on some of those really cold evenings. But they're amphibians. They're cold-blooded. They aren't as bothered by the cold weather as some other animals. Another one that we were hearing a lot of were leopard frogs, which have kind of a strange call. Just kind of like a knocking. Some people mistake it for like a woodpecker call.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, but in the evening, woodpeckers are usually sleeping somewhere and in their roost. But leopard frogs have other calls as well.
Now there's one I'm just waiting to hear, and it's the real deep one that you get.
You're probably thinking this one.
That's it.
Yep. That's the bullfrogs.
That's the bullfrogs. That's right.
I saw several last night. They're out there. They just aren't into their breeding season yet. They're usually not breeding until into June. So it would be unusual to hear them now.
Okay.
But we did hear a couple of unusual ones last night. One was this one, which is the gray tree frog. And then we heard this other one, which is the green tree frog, or sometimes it's called the Cope's tree frog. That's a little early. They're usually not out till late May and into June, but they're frogs. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah,
so
right.
if they're feeling it, they're going to be out there singing.
Now, green and gray tree frogs, like is that specifically their color designation? Because I've seen plenty of green tree frogs. I've never seen a green one before.
And they both can change colors. They're
Right.
And so it's very difficult to identify them for sure if you're looking at one in your hand. And that's why their calls are important, because their calls, you heard,
Their
very
calls
different.
are very different. Yeah.
Yep. So when you're listening, even if there's a lot of frogs calling, you can hear that difference. They go, there's the Cope's tree frog over here. And so, over time you learn, you can kind of train your ear to focus on one particular sound, and you can kind of pick it out of a bunch of them. The other one we heard in a number of places, which was kind of early, was the toad. And again, they can go off and they can just sing almost nonstop.
Yeah.
And
Nonstop is right.
yeah, and when there's hundreds of these frogs all together, all singing, it seems like they never stop because there's always somebody taking a rest and others picking it up here. But it's really interesting. And last night we heard woodcocks. We heard we had a group of owls that came crashing in. They were males that were arguing perhaps over territory, and
really,
and they were hooting at each other, and we tried hooting back, but they weren't paying attention to us. I tried hooting back. They were talking to each other, and there was just enough light left. We could see them kind of crashing through the trees back and forth.
Hooting back, probably were they barred owls?
They were barred owls. So they're
yeah. I do like hearing that.
They were really getting noisy. But it was fun to stand out there and hear that. We could hear other wetland birds. There were some I had no idea what they were, but it's just kind of interesting to be out there, and it's a good time of year to, if you're out in the evening and in kind of a wild area, you can hear some unusual noises, and it's just wild animals doing their thing.
I love walking out because there's so much waterfowl, so many waterfowl out there right on the river, even just out here at the docks by in the downtown, and just getting to hear all those ducks in the morning. Listening to them feed and all that kind of stuff. Love that. Love that.
Yep. Yeah, one of the places we stopped last night, at first we couldn't hear the frogs, not very well at least, and there were a lot of them. But there's a huge flock of geese that were roosting in there that night, and they were all up in arms.
Canadas or snows?
They were Canadas.
Ooh,
and they were
loud.
just back and forth, and we were just kind of looking at each other. Well, are we going to hear? But we waited a little bit. In a few minutes, they calmed down, and they may have just gotten all excited because as our car pulled in, we just used a little field access, and the headlights kind of flashed across there. That could have been all it took to get them all excited about what's going on here. But they quieted down, and we heard our toads and chorus frogs and spring peepers and leopard frogs. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Well, Dave, thanks so much for coming in this morning. Really appreciate having you on.
You're welcome. You're very welcome.
And we really enjoy getting to talk to the Muscatine County Conservation Department because you guys do so many cool things. Stuff that I really enjoy. Stuff that really gets me going. So that it's always a pleasure to have you in, and we can't wait to hear from you as we get further into the summer and after spring and get into the really fun stuff during the summer when it's 89, 90 degrees outside. So
where we might be thinking, gosh, a little cold front would feel good today, wouldn't it? Of course, then a cold front might be 75 degrees.
Yeah,
so we can.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny how quickly we flip flop. Considering middle of the winter. Oh man, I can't wait for those 80-degree days. I'm sick of this nonsense. And then it finally gets here. Then it's 89, 90 degrees, and you wait. I can't wait for it to snow.
A little bit, but there's always
a little
caveat. About enough snow to ski for a little bit, or enough ice to ice fish, but. Nobody's asking for I can't wait till it's 15 below zero.
Yeah,
and that's just incredible.
I don't know anybody that's asking for that now.
No.
All right, well, thanks a bunch, Dave. Appreciate having you on. Thanks for joining us.
You're
this
very
morning.
welcome, Jordan.
Dave Bakke joining us from the Muscatine County Conservation Department to talk a little bit about all the great things that they do. We're glad to have him on. Remember, this is all brought to you by Muscatine Power and Water. If you're not hooked up to MockLink Internet, TV, or phone services, turn it on for $10 off. Turn one on and get $10 off each for 3 months. Save even more when you bundle 2 or more. Details at mpw.org. Again, I'm Jordan Davis. Thanks for tuning in to Moving Forward here on the Voice of Muscatine.
This has been Moving Forward on KWPC AM 860 FM 95.1, the voice of Muscatine. Moving Forward is brought to you by MPW Digital TV and MockLink Internet, a designated Blue Zones worksite. Browse to mpw.org. And remember, Moving Forward, local guests making good things happen in the community. Weekdays at 8:15.